it's just kind of clicking. It's getting to the point where Sean Payton's offense is almost like Bill Belichick, where you can just plug guys in and they just make it happen. And that seems like that's where they're headed. Andy Dalton has 1 year left on his 6-year, $96 million deal. Yes, he signed a $96 million deal. So you looked at the Pats defense last year in the playoffs. It was unreal the whole way. And it was the same thing in the first half against Kansas City in the AFC Championship game. Pat Mahomes figured it out in the second half and they went off. And if they played a fifth quarter and it wasn't just overtime rules, the Chiefs would have won that game. They would have probably won the Super Bowl. That's one of the best divisions in football. The Packers are rolling with new head coach Matt LaFleur. The Vikings have been winning, and the Lions are even sticking around at 2-3-1 right now. So the Bears lose this one, they're right down there with the Lions, and that's never really a place you want to be. You've got Nick Bosa, the second overall pick, who is easily looking at Defensive Rookie of the Year, maybe even Defensive Player of the Year as a rookie. I'm going to lean the other way and go Cole. It's like you mentioned, they're basically 1 and 2 in every stat in the American League. It's crazy. Cole leads in ERA. He leads in strikeouts per 9. He leads in strikeouts. Verlander is second in all those categories. Verlander leads in whip. He leads in hits per 9. He leads in wins. Cole is second in all of those categories. So it's clearly between these two.
Do you see the Astros making a new run next year, or is the dynasty essentially dead?
Well, it's tough to call it a dynasty when you only got one World Series, but two appearances in 3 years, they were getting there if they had won it this year. I hate making it the WAR award, basically, which is what it's kind of become, but Trout, at this point, with these numbers, he hasn't won an MVP since 2016. He's only got 2 in his career, which seems incredible. Listen to this. This is his MVP finishes since his first full season in 2012. Second, first, fourth, second.
Wow.
My goodness.
Quite the down year to finish fourth.
Yeah, no, I don't know what happened that year. It was a tough one for him. He only played 114 games, and he still came in fourth that year. But I think it's time Mike Trout gets another one. You look at some of the all-time greats, that's where he's really going to be stacking up, and Barry Bonds had 6, A-Rod had 3. I think it's time Trout gets another one at this point, and this was the year that he gets it.
So, Logan, this is Mitch Trubisky's first game back after missing the past 2 weeks with a shoulder injury. What have you seen from his performance so far?
He's struggling out there. I mean, it's been much of the same that we saw in his first 3 games before he got hurt against the Vikings. That offense is just not clicking with him, and every game that he's played so far, besides one, he's had below 60% completion percentage. Same story in the first half today. That offense is really just not going, and before this game, Bears coach Matt Nagy said it was time to give the keys to the car to Trubisky, and that might just not be the right move. I mean, that they're throwing the ball a lot more than they're running the ball, and that might be something that they have to adjust here in the second half.
Who do you think has the best shot to come out of the NFC as the champion?
I'm going to have to give the nod to the undefeated 49ers. It's definitely a team that you don't expect to be there at this point. You see the Saints, perennial contenders, Drew Brees, Sean Payton. You see the Packers, perennial contenders, Aaron Rodgers, Matt LaFleur, obviously new head coach, but they've looked great this year. But the 49ers with Jimmy Garoppolo, Kyle Shanahan, and most importantly, that defense has really shined. And you look at, that's the best defense in the NFC. If it weren't for the Patriots in the AFC, that'd clearly be far and away the best defense in the NFL.
But I have the Bills.
Yeah, my only problem with the Bills there is they have a team that's built similarly to the Patriots in that it's predicated on their defense. Their defense is what drives them. But the Patriots' defense drives them, and it's much better. Yeah. The Patriots' offense isn't great, but it's much better than the Bills. So the Bills are trying to play the Patriots' game, and they're just doing it at a lower level. This year was no different in the playoffs. Again, this is a regular season award. They won 101 games. First time that they had done that since, you got to go way, way, way back for that one. They last won 100 games. Anyone want to guess the year?
Oh. When did they come into existence?
Minnesota Twins became the Minnesota Twins in 1961. They were the Washington Senators before that.
Oh. Well, did they do this as the Twins?
They did this as the Twins one time in their history.
All right, I'm going to go 1982.
Give me 77.
1965.
Wow.
Was the last time they won 100 games. They won 102.
How do the Astros rebound from such a huge contributor?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because we basically know that he's gone, even though free agency hasn't even started yet. I mean, after Game 7, he immediately says, "I'm not a team employee, but I'll speak on behalf of myself." He's wearing a Scott Boras company hat on his head and not an Astros hat. Scott Boras, of course, agent for high-profile guys, Alex Rodriguez, Barry Bonds, Bryce Harper, all these guys who've gotten monster deals. So you can just tell that that's what he's looking for. All right, Brian, thanks for joining us today. We're going to talk a little bit of men's ice hockey. So, season starting up, what are your expectations for the team this season?
For the expectations, getting back to where they were last year and again and run for the Final Four. They should be finishing again top 4 in their conference. They finished the number 1 seed last year. I don't necessarily think that'll be the case this year.
And you said you don't think that they'll get back to that level of winning a share of the league. What makes you think that?
I think that the loss we saw last year, how much losing a guy like Chase Prisky and Brandon Fortunato was for this team, and I think, to me, there's just still a lot of question marks. I mean, this is a young team. They only got 5 upperclassmen on the team, so it's a lot of question marks. Last year, Rand Becknold needed the freshmen to answer the bell in terms of the forwards, and they did that this year, but now you got to ask basically the same thing again, especially with the defense.
Starting with the obvious question, Cam Young, MAC Player of the Year, leading scorer the past 2 seasons, graduated going to play professionally in Italy. How does this team overcome the loss of a player such big magnitude?
First, Logan, I want to say thank you for having me on the show. Cam Young, obviously, he was the best player in the conference last year. He was one of the best players, if you really look at it, in all of college basketball in terms of his points per game average. But to replace and overcome losing Cam Young, it can't be one guy.
It's year 3 under Baker Dunleavy now. Year 1, they get to the MAC semifinals kind of unexpectedly. Last year, they finished above 500, improved record, but they get bounced in the first round of the tournament. Where do you think this program has to be at the end of this year to show that they're still moving in positive direction?
I think this year it has to be MAC semifinals or bust. Now, normally I would say after what they did the last 2 years, you would want to win the MAC championship and make the NCAA tournament. But losing Cam Young, obviously this team is not going to be the same team as it was last year. I think overall, they may have more talent on this roster.
And so a lot of young players, what guys do you think are going to stand out for them this year? Obviously, they're going to need someone to step up.
For me, it's a big name. I mean, Skylar Brindamore, son of Rod Brindamore, he was an NHL great coach of the Carolina Hurricanes. He's coming in with high expectations. He was drafted a couple years ago by the Edmonton Oilers. He was playing alongside, I believe, Gus Van Ness and Ethan DeYoung in this exhibition game. We'll see if he's going to continue playing with those guys.
This is Reardon's Red Hot Take, presented by Frank's Red Hot Sauce. Think you know hot? Well, you don't know Frank's Red Hot. Visit franksredhot.com for all products, including the all-new Buffalo Chicken Dip recipe. Enter promo code Reardon at checkout to receive a 10% off coupon. The Miami Dolphins are giving new meaning to the word tank. In their first 2 games of 2019, they have been outscored by opponents 102-10. That's right, 102-10. That's the worst 2-game start by any team in the Super Bowl era. Rookie head coach Brian Flores is still confident in his team, but we all know where this is headed.
We just need to focus on what's going on inside our building and not worry about anything that's going on outside. I think we got to get better from a fundamental standpoint, from a communication standpoint, from really overall, and that's the goal right now.
The Dolphins will pick first in the 2020 NFL Draft. They might even do it again in 2021, but the team teardown is the right move. Think about it. Where were these Dolphins going with Ryan Fitzpatrick or Josh Rosen at quarterback? They have no other significant offensive weapons. Players like Minkah Fitzpatrick and Laramie Tunsil are talented pieces, but the likelihood of them leading the next Dolphins playoff run was never probable. That's years away. Miami is smart to trade all their value and load up on draft picks. Look at the Philadelphia 76ers in the NBA. The trust the process method lasted for 5 years, but Philly's now a perennial contender loaded with young talent. The Finns weren't winning the AFC anytime soon with the Patriots still the Patriots, Patrick Mahomes setting the world on fire, and Lamar Jackson balling in Baltimore. The Dolphins did what they had to do, no matter how long or painful the process will be. And that is Reardon's Red Hot Take.